They
Yeah,
didn't
they
have
Couldn't
pockets.
take a whole household full of
No, that's true, not a lot,
Multi-use.
not a lot of stuff. For I am compassionate.
I was even wondering why you'd even bother to take it if you had to return it every night. Be
Yeah,
more trouble than it was worth, I would think.
It
yeah.
must have happened, otherwise
I guess.
it's in the Bible.
Yeah.
If you took it and you had to return it at night, what would you take it for in the first place?
Especially during the daylight.
Well,
when
it's
it's
like
warm.
keeping it for ransom,
You'd
like,
give somebody
you know,
your
waiting
coat,
for them.
if you borrowed something, you give them a coat of security.
Maybe they use the coat to carry something.
Well,
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
well, if you have to
You
have
could use it
assets
to-
to borrow money from a bank. Your coat was your asset at that time. So they would hold your coat till you if you borrowed tools for to work in your field from someone, you left your coat there until you brought your tools back, when you got your coat
I
back.
gotcha.
Makes sense.
At least that's what I got out of it.
No, I have to give up my teeth and get it back in my truck. Collateral.
That's okay, Gary, I'll let you keep your...
Well, nobody else can use mine.
Yeah, I don't think they'll fit right. That's one of those one-of-the-kind things.
In the pawn shop.
Really?
You've seen them in the pawn shop? Who would
Yeah.
pawn their teeth?
Get out of here.
Really?
No.
Artificial
Oh,
legs.
I mean, I could see glasses.
Down in Biloxi, before the hurricane went through and destroyed everything, the pawn shop, so you could go down there and they'd have a section, there'd be 6, 7, 8 sets of dentures. In there. Try them on, see if they fit.
Well, maybe they got new ones and they didn't know what to do with the old
Let's
ones.
pray they got new ones.
Oh, my goodness.
But
Yeah, but from the funeral home.
That's-
God,
yeah.
you wanna be
If they died at the funeral home,
Well,
making a buck.
Right?
no, because, and when you're cremated, I know
well,
certain
they take
things
them
won't
out before
burn.
you get
He-
cremated.
I remember the guy said, we take them out
Yeah.
and they're buried we have a whole set of things and we bury them by the,
Oy, oy, oy,
Yeah.
oy, oy.
We always
Okay.
need a remote on the camera to stop.
Anyway, let's
it.
reel you guys back in.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch.
Yeah.
All right,
Had to
so,
bring
Some
up
things I don't need
teeth,
to know.
Gary.
yeah, we don't need to know that. I can see if they're gold teeth, but anyway. So do not hold back offerings from your granaries or your vats. What's what we see here?
Beginning of tithing, 10%.
Right.
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 That was your money.
Yep.
there you go.
Yep.
Wow.
I already know that, because that's our money.
Yeah.
Your
We
grain.
don't sell it, we don't have no money.
Right,
Yep.
right, yeah, makes sense.
And
Budget, wow.
what God is saying is, you need to give me your first fruits, because if you don't, you're gonna forget about me. Because life goes on, and stuff happens, and that's the way it goes. Okay, verse 29 and 30, what's God saying here?
Do not hold back offerings from,
I'm sorry, the second part of 29.
oh.
You must give me the firstborn.
I'm not sure.
Is
I
that
wondered
would be
Was that with the
circumcision.
That's why.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the 8th day.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So here God is saying, dedicate your firstborn to me. Once again, we go to the first fruits. And we know how precious our firstborn are. You know, we've been waiting for them for a long time. They finally get here, so God is saying, they belong to me. Because I blessed you with this child, you must dedicate this child to me. And the sign of the dedication was give them to me on the 8th day. That's when they were circumcised, on the 8th day.
And back in 28, that struck me as being very present day. Do not blaspheme God. And how many times on TV do they say, oh God? You know, they're always saying that. And
That was
then
last,
regarding
yeah.
our president, or curse the ruler of the people. You know, even if you don't like our president, we haven't always liked every president, but it doesn't give you the right to curse them.
Right.
No.
We're supposed
Yeah.
to pray for them.
I agree.
Because further in the Bible, we'll see that,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Paul, I can't remember, or I wouldn't go that far. It tells us that we are not to curse our rulers because they wouldn't be there unless God put them there.
Yep.
So, same thing, but that's fallen by the wayside.
Usually when
We're in a society now that's if it's not exactly what we want, we're gonna curse it, we're going to
I turn the
scream
news
against it.
off.
Yeah,
When it comes to national news, click, TV's off. I don't want to know. Because
I haven't-
one,
yeah.
one commentator one time said, Mr. Trump, and I went, excuse me, you're done. He's still the president, and I don't care if you like him or not, but he's still,
Yeah.
she said, Mr. Trump. I said, that's it, I'm done.
It's really hard to
'Cause
listen
that-
to NPR news on the radio.
Yeah, I
Real
don't,
tough.
nope, click.
Real tough.
So,
Kind of struck me in the first part of 31, this whole part is to make his people holy.
Yes. Yes.
Special tribe, priesthood, to be holy.
Yeah, because if you're hungry, you're gonna eat anything.
Well, I thought it was interesting because a lot of these food laws have actually to do with food safety.
Yeah.
You know, that, you know, like, I think probably one of the reasons why they weren't supposed to eat pork was because, number one, back then there was wormy stuff in the meat. It was hard to get it out, but when they invented Ivomec, you could Ivomec them up, and that would kill any of the trichinosis things that were in the pork. Or you had to cook it really good. But anyway, they don't have it anymore. But then that meat also doesn't keep very well. So if one of your pigs was killed by the animals or any other, you don't know how long it's been laying there, and you're going to eat
Sure.
it. I
And
mean,
the animal could have been rabied.
the fly larva could already be in there, and
well, and God didn't want his nation wiped out with food poisoning. We know what that's like.
Yeah.
You imagine?
imagine.
Yeah, everybody,
Thanks, yeah.
no, yeah.
How many million people at the same time?
Yeah,
Oh gosh,
yeah.
that'd be awful.
So you're right. This
But
was,
the dogs have a different digestive system. They can handle the maggots and the stuff that might be in there. They can do that. At least the dogs of yesteryear.
They love that stuff.
But before we leave chapter 22, I thought way back in 17, the father could refuse to give her to him.
Mm-hmm.
Still a lot of control and all that mess
Yep.
going on.
But he still had to pay for it.
Mhm.
And I've got a question on chapter 29. It says, don't be stingy, and I'm hoping this is,
Chapter or verse?
pardon me, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Verse 29.
Yeah.
Don't be stingy as your wine vats fill up.
oh, you have another version of it.
Mine says, do not hold back offerings from your granaries or your vats.
Yeah, that's what I got. But she has the
Yeah,
wine
mine
one.
says granaries or vats.
Okay.
Okay, so wine vats, what does it say again, Goldie?
Do
It
not,
says, don't be stingy as your wine vats fill up.
Okay, so I think what it's saying there is still give 10%. Sometimes when we make a lot of money, sometimes we tend to tithe less and spend more.
Okay.
So God is saying, you still need to give me my 10%.
So he's just using this wine as like an
cash.
example?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because they don't have cash, right?
No.
Well, they've got gold, but they probably don't have cash because cash means nothing.
Gotcha.
The property, grain, wine,
Animal.
that all makes sense. Money is like, what are you gonna do?
Right.
You can always buy stuff.
There's
but
not a
it's probably-
7-Eleven in the
No,
desert.
it's
so
probably a barter system,
Gotcha.
I'm guessing.
No ATMs there.
No ATMs,
You know,
just God.
Yeah.
we used to do this though. Before we were called by God, we used to, how much money you can make, and then we used to spend it before,
Well, yeah, and then.
and never give anything to the church.
No, you go to church, give them $5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You didn't think about tithing.
No.
Well, for one thing, I didn't read the Bible.
right. We
So,
didn't.
didn't know about tithing or anything else, and I always thought that it was me, I did this. Until you start reading scripture and it's
Right.
like, wait a minute, he created me, that means he gave me all these talents to allow me to do this stuff. Oh, I haven't done a darn thing.
Yeah.
And
It's all God.
ever since we've give 10%, we have never wanted for anything.
No.
Right.
Somehow it always works out. I'm like, wow, It's God.
It's a God thing.
It is a God thing. It's incredible. I've never had this happen before.
Yep.
Never wanted. So, but we don't want anymore what we wanted.
Well, and you want different things too.
Right.
Right.
It's like,
I wanted an air conditioner for somebody so bad, so thank you. I've been praying for 2 weeks for an air conditioner for this
Right.
woman. I mean,
You-
to me, that was more important than,
you tend to think about other stuff.
Right.
You no longer think about a car or a vacation. It's like, well, what about that kid down the street?
Right.
Or what about this person without an air conditioner? Or how in the world can we get her stuff out of storage?
Right.
Those are the things you start
yeah,
thinking about.
yep.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
God's good.
Are we done with chapter 22?
Yeah.
Okay. So, first part of 23, verses
Gossip.
1 through 9, it's laws of justice and mercy to protect the community.
So no gossiping.
No gossiping.
That's
no
the
false
first one.
reports,
Mhm.
no gossiping, and you know what gossiping does to people.
It hurts.
It can tear their life apart. The easiest thing to say is if somebody asks you about somebody,
Not my
it's not
story.
my story to tell.
Right.
My mother always told me a liar was worse than a thief. You lock your door against a thief, but you can't lock a liar's mouth.
No, no.
I've learned one thing, not to say a thing.
It's easier.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier, and I think Orpha is the first person I heard that from.
Oh, yeah.
It's not my story to tell.
Yeah.
Orpha, 104.
Well, yeah, when you're 104 years old, you kind of collect wisdom along the way. So.
Yeah, right.
If you don't have it by then, you never will.
Yeah.
I like this
You may not
number
remember.
2. Do not follow the crowd in doing wrong.
Yep.
When you give testimony in a lawsuit, do not prevent justice by siding with the how
Mob
important.
mentality.
But they did that for Jesus, didn't they?
Oh, of course.
They
Yeah.
just- yeah.
And interesting, in verse 3, did not show favoritism
Yeah.
to a poor person in a lawsuit.
Just because they're poor doesn't mean,
But they're not guilty.
yeah.
And because at this time, all the Israelites were pretty poor, they just came from slavery, so there would have been a prejudice against people who had stuff, against rich people. So God's saying, let's balance out our judgment. Just because the person's rich doesn't mean they're going to be guilty. And here, God is telling us, we got to love our enemies. If you come across your enemy's ox or donkey wandering off, be sure to return it.
Sounds like he's taken the 10 Commandments going deep.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why I think if God didn't give these directly to Moses, Moses is adapting what God has said.
Okay.
So that they can understand it.
Yeah.
That you
And
shall not
applying it-
steal.
Applying it to things that they are dealing with in their life.
So treat your neighbor, love your neighbor.
And don't covet your neighbor's stuff.
Right, so that's what number 4 is, right?
Yeah, because instead of taking your enemy's ox back, if he's your enemy, well, just keep it. But here God's saying, no, it's not yours.
It's not your property.
Get it back.
Okay.
Just kind of struck me that when the Israelites came out of Egypt, they took all sorts of property. They weren't probably poor, terribly poor
They
in comparison to what they
took silver
were.
and gold from their
Because it gave
neighbors.
them everything they wanted. God
To get
But
rid
they
of
were,
it.
gave them a good heart.
But we'll see in the next couple chapters what God wanted them to do with that stuff. And help your enemy. What else do we see here?
Do not accept a bribe.
Yep. For a bribe blinds those who see.
Do not oppress an alien. In other words, be kind.
Because you were foreigners in Egypt.
This is actually the 10 Commandments. It is. If you read it, it's like, oh, well, there's that one, there's that one. This is a cool one.
And then we have the 7th year in verse 10 and 11.
That's what got Israel into all sorts of trouble and ended up in Babylon. 70 years of punishment for not putting their crops for rest for a period of time.
Yeah.
So Sue, do you think God was given the crops a year to rest this year because it was late?
I wonder if,
Hmm.
I wonder if he's doing that, or if he was thinking about, doing a worldwide food shortage.
Make us be more
We're
appreciative.
finding in this area, you know, not only may there not be very much corn, but there's a horrible hay shortage. They
Which will then
said,
be a shortage for cattle.
over at the sale barn in Kewanee, the square bales are going for $8,
Oh my gosh.
which is
Very-
Wow.
Double, triple?
That's really high.
almost double.
that's
Yeah.
Wow. Just wondering.
And it's not even, we don't even know how much hay we're gonna end up, well, we're not gonna have any, ours froze
Oh.
out over the winter. And so we put all that in the prevent plant, but then you can't harvest anything off of it until November.
So do you think because we haven't been following, God said, okay, I'm gonna let this happen?
Well, you know,
I don't know.
it tells all about the end times in here.
Oh, you're going right to the end. Okay,
Yeah.
no, I'm
Well, it
I'm
doesn't
optimistic
say-
here. I'm
It
just-
doesn't say how long the end times are gonna take to get here. You know, there's only a couple things that have finite dates involved. The rest of it's kind of
When you
vague.
go back in
We're
time
doing
though, and
things
think
against
about the Dust Bowl
the
years
earth,
and
not
all
taking
that.
good
Yeah.
care of the
The
earth,
times
because we're
when
being
farmers
punished.
have just had it horrible.
Yeah?
Yeah.
God-
Look at
Barely.
the bees.
Barely.
God made us stewards
Had
of
to
the earth.
sell
Right,
government,
Right.
we're
sell
not doing a
land.
very good
I
job.
think that's probably how
the
that, at that period of
glaciers
time is when the
melting.
farm program, the government farm
Right.
program started.
Mhm.
It was during that time frame when,
Prevent some
during the
of these things.
Dust Bowl and that's what's so interesting about the Grapes of Wrath movie.
Yeah.
Because
Then
they
we've got our
overplot.
Sabbath laws, which
Yep.
come right from the Ten Commandments. We've got the 3 annual festivals, which God talked about before.
What is this thing though? Do the same with your vineyard and your olive. Oh, never mind. I read it out loud. I understood. Never
Okay.
mind.
What else do we see here that's kind of odd?
All these festivals will be repeated big time in Leviticus again.
I haven't heard of any of these.
In detail. Well, sure. We saw the Festival of the Unleavened Bread. We've seen that already.
Passover, right?
And we've seen, did we see the Festival of the Harvest? I think
Yeah.
we did.
Yeah.
The new one now,
Yep.
the Festival of
16.
Ingathering.
Yep.
Feast of the Harvest.
And the ingathering.
Another harvest festival. And God says, for these 3 festivals, all the men are to appear.
3 times.
Yep.
But isn't that kind of like everybody getting together like we do now? Only 2 of our holidays are Jesus holidays, which wouldn't have existed back then.
Mhm.
And even Thanksgiving wouldn't have been like ours is, you know. I mean, the Festival of the Harvest is like that, though.
Right, because they didn't have football back then.
No.
What did they do all day?
They
Toss
were around in
coconuts.
chariots.
I don't know.
Work.
They had chariot races.
Yeah.
They worked all
But I
the
can't
time.
imagine those chariot races being very much fun with donkeys.
Do not cook a young goat in its mother's
I
milk.
didn't understand
Now,
that at
now,
all.
the
Yeah.
Is it the Jewish who has to have different pots for different cookings and things?
Well,
Yeah, but
this one,
And I
I
don't
found
know.
out that this was a Canaanite
Practice?
practice.
cooking
So-
goats.
Yeah,
Right.
mother's
So
milk.
God doesn't want you to do anything that the pagans do.
Okay.
At first I thought it was, since the mother's milk is life-giving to the young goat, you shouldn't do that. You know, just like blood.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to eat the blood because it's life-giving. But here it was just very specific. It was a Canaanite practice.
So I take cheeseburgers
Yeah,
off
now-
the menu.
Now,
We'll see that in Leviticus.
is that the
No
reason why
cheeseburgers
the-
in Leviticus?
The Jewish people
Well,
can't have
I
to
mean,
have two
with
different
the meat
kitchens
and
and 2 different sets
dairy
of pots and
cheese, yeah.
pans.
Well, they have to have their, I think it's their kosher set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That all kosher stuff came from the 613 laws that
Right.
the Pharisees came up with.
Yep. Yeah, God didn't say anything about kosher. God's angel to prepare the way.
So that
is
was
that?
an angel or Jesus?
Pay attention and listen.
Some commentaries say it's God. Some commentaries say it was Jesus. And they don't think it's an angel because they're saying this is pretty much the same thing that led him out of Egypt, with the pillar of fire and smoke. So they're thinking this is God, not an angel.
They have seen some miraculous things.
You would have thought that they would have been believers for life after what they've seen and experienced. Being fed every day, seeing water come from nowhere, seeing their enemies completely wiped out. But you're only as good as your last miracle.
Gosh.
That's true, right?
Only took them 40 days to go bad after Moses went up the mountain again.
Yeah. Amazing.
So you think it might be a pre-incarnate Jesus then?
Yep.
I think you might be right on that.
And then God's telling us, as you move into the countries of the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Canaanites, and Hivites, and Jebusites, wipe them out, but I'm not going to wipe them out that quick. Because if I wipe them out too quick, there's not going to be enough of you to take care of the land.
And the animals will take over.
And the animals will take over. So, and this is just like how sometimes we want something so quick. We pray, we want it right now, and sometimes God's answer is so slow that we don't think He's answering us at all. But He's answering us in His time. And here's a perfect example why He can't do it fast. For one thing, they wouldn't be able to handle it.
So God tries to teach you a lesson by not answering your prayer right away.
Right.
You're not ready for it.
You're not ready for it. And here He's telling them, you're not ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to do it gradually. So
It's the
just be
hornets to
patient.
chase the people out.
Yeah, just be patient.
I'm gonna do a flashback to
Yeah.
21.
Okay.
When you talk about the possibility that that could be, you know, a pre-incarnate of Jesus. I think the line that says, "For He will not pardon your transgression," in the middle of that, that's what Jesus came here to do, was to pardon all of our transgressions. So, I don't know, is that, have we got a contradiction of thought there?
He
in
will
that?
not forgive your rebellion, it says.
Well, the New Revised says, or not New Revised, Revised Standard says, "For He will not pardon your transgression."
Well, He wasn't coming to save us yet.
Because it says, since my name is in Him.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Just
leads you
a
to
thought.
believe it's
Yeah.
a pre.
Could go any number of ways.